be Joan Collins.
Thank you, Ciarán Comhairle. First of all, I want to welcome the INMO in the gallery this evening, and I want to put on record my full support for the members of the Irish Nurses and Midwives Association and the Psychiatric Nurses Association, who I'm absolutely sure do not have a like-minded attitude to the effects their actions will have on patient care and the ongoing crisis in our health service. And that is reflected, as has been said already, in the fact that it's only the second time in 100 years that nurses have voted to take industrial action. I categorically reject the recent statements by the Taoiseach that strike action by nurses will cut across spuriously claimed so-called improvements in the numbers on trolleys and EDs and waiting lists. This is yet another attempt to blame overworked, hard-pressed staff for a crisis that stems from decades, Fianna Fáil, of underfunding, cutbacks, loss of staff and beds and mismanagement on a gigantic scale. This action is not just about pay, it's about the extremely poor working conditions faced by nurses and staff as a consequence of the recruitment and retention crisis in our health service. The facts speak for themselves. There are today, according to the Irish Nurses and Midwives Organisation, 2,662 less nurses in the public health system than in 2007. That has to be set against the fact of ongoing increased demand due to demographic and other factors. There was a 40% increase in vacancies in the psychiatric nursing positions from November 2017 to September 2018. Everybody agrees that there is a need for more nursing staff and a much higher rate of retention of trained qualified nurses. And part of the solution is to resolve the issues of low pay and parity between nurses and allied health professionals. The starting salary of a staff nurse or midwife is $28,768 compared to an allied health professional of $35,319. Neither of these can be considered well paid, especially given their training and qualifications. But there is a difference of 6,551 falling to 4,400 after 16 weeks' employment. Nurses and midwives also work a longer 39-hour week. There is a reality in this situation which needs to be accepted by government. Despite the threats of a withdrawal of the general pay increases, along with increases to address lower pay for new entrants and the loss of increments, 95% of nurses voted for strike action. And the government can't ignore that reality. These strikes will go ahead, and at some stage the government has to change its stance and enter meaningful negotiations. It has been said that negotiations started yesterday. I'd like to know how meaningful they were. I will be contacting the INMO and the P&A to ask them that. And the government should accept the nurses' claim for parity and agree a process as to how it will be achieved in a reasonable time frame. There is a clause in the Public Service Agreement which allows for review in relation to recruitment and retention, which would allow for not just talks but a solution to the issues in this dispute without collapsing the general agreement. And to be quite honest, I find it quite repulsive listening to some of the debate going on in the airwaves and the media. The Fine Gael TDs, who have accepted a 7,358 increase since 1st of January 2017 under the restoration of pay of FEMPI, and General Secretaries of unions who received that same sort of increase, can come out and attack nurses for taking this action after going through all the industrial relations process that they could possibly go through. It's the last action that workers can take if they know, not just feel, they're not listened to. This private member's motion will be passed, and rather than simply ignoring it as just another lost vote like the government did in relation to the Sinn Féin motion last year, the government should take seriously the views of a majority here in this House and the public views and patients' views and act accordingly and resolve this situation.